coming. Ron not going to be here tonight?
Ron will be excused tonight.
Okay. All right, well, since we are now almost
Say, just gotta go like.
called to order, but almost.
Oh, okay. Should be good now.
All right, now we're in order. If we could please stand and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. We were almost in sync. All right, first, as you all know, after the Pledge of Allegiance, the board will put forward a motion to approve the meeting minutes for our regular meeting of September 23rd, 2025. If you so
I'll
choose.
make a motion that we adopt the meeting minutes of September 23rd, 2025.
Thanks. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Oh, go ahead.
Okay, Mike seconded.
I'll second.
All right, any corrections? No? Okay, all those in favor of approving those minutes, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say no. They're approved. Let's move on to adopt tonight's agenda. Is there a motion?
I'll make a motion to adopt tonight's agenda.
Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Okay. Anybody have anything you need to add to the agenda, or is there anything we should table right off the top of your heads? No? Okay, then all those in favor of adopting tonight's agenda say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed say no. The agenda is adopted for tonight. It seems kind of weird, but I'm still not quite used to it, but public comments and questions. I see no public. Is there any public here? No. Nathan, is there any public there? Okay, then we'll move on to Bruce Kennedy and his spotlight on success for the transportation department. Come on down.
Good evening.
Hi, Bruce.
Provided a list of the vehicles that QVSD Transportation Department maintains.
Holy cow.
We don't just do services, motor pool, we also handle the same maintenance for Calm, Jefferson Transit, Quileute Tribal School, Wheats Clearwater, and Quileute Head Start. We
Jeez.
use a diagnostic program called Insight on our laptop. It lets us read codes, clear faults, update software, and calibrate ECMs. The program costs $950 per year and is crucial for our work. QVSD.
How much a year?
$950 a year.
Oh, peanuts. You can put that in
QVSD
there.
maintains 15 buses. Currently, 9 of them have Cummins ISD engines, which is what we use the Insight for troubleshooting. As we get new buses, I recommend we stay with Cummins to continue standardizing our fleet. This will help with our consistency and efficiency. Insight is also used to service all of our Clown Transit buses, Wheats buses, Quileute Tribal School buses, and even the high school generator. Every 2 years, we do an oil change and replace the fuel filters and coolant filters, air filter. Just a takeaway, it takes 92 quarts or 23 gallons of engine oil when we do the service on that generator.
How
How
many?
many gallons?
23 gallons
23
for the
gallons,
engine
wow.
oil.
Wait a
not know
minute.
that.
How big is this thing?
It's right out there. It-
Yeah, but
it
that
lights up
sounds like
half
big
of
as a
the building.
ship.
The fuel tank is 850 gallons on it.
Yeah. And
long
how
will that
often
run
do you
for?
change it?
Yeah.
Sorry,
We
Kevin,
change
go ahead.
oil, transportation changes oil twice a year, or every other year, excuse me.
Whether we use it or not.
Well, Bill has a program that, it comes on automatically, once a week.
Oh,
Runs for a little bit.
oh,
How long will 850 gallons last?
Um,
A
yeah,
week?
that all depends.
how many miles a gallon we get on that generator?
Yeah, I can figure that out.
No, but it's
And remember, the purpose of the generator is so that we
Emergency.
can turn our
emergency.
cafeteria gymnasium into a Red Cross station. We're a formal Red Cross station.
Right.
And then the part of the Red Cross station is if the hospital is down and doesn't have power, we would turn our wing by the bus station into hospital beds where the culinary arts, Dr. Cavill's room, that whole wing would become a hospital for critical injured and or critical patients.
Oh, cool. And if ours goes down, then we all go to this hospital for school?
I'd have to pull out our emergency plan of where there, we've got it in our plan of where we go next, but we are the primary.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay, that's a side hop, sorry.
And we're centrally located. That helps.
And we did that one time we had the fires right outside of Forks. We
You
did
put
turn it
people
in.
in there.
Yeah. DNR brought beds or somebody brought beds. We had beds all lined up. People didn't end up staying because hotels in Port Angeles and Forks put people up who were here in Airbnbs who had to evacuate.
Mhm.
We had dog food here within an hour because there were about 10 dogs that visitors had. Yeah, it was pretty incredible. Anyway, sorry, I didn't mean to disrupt your spotlight on success.
Over the years, QVSD Transportation has made updates to both our motor pool, grounds, and bus fleet. We remain committed to upgrading and maintaining these vehicles as necessary to ensure our vehicles are safe, reliable, and maintained. Thank you.
Okay, but you don't get off that easy.
Do you have any questions?
So what is a Sprinter?
What?
You have down here a 2008 Sprinter.
Yeah, that was purchased for the kitchen.
Okay.
It's in a roundabout way.
And
Yeah,
this-
we used federal ARA dollars for it. And then,
Okay.
long story short, we had to convert it to the kitchen.
So
Kitchen
Bruce, you have a bus on here from 1994. What is that?
That's a Thomas bus.
Oh, it still works good?
Yes,
Well, there's one from 1992.
and that one goes to the hoe right
Oh, yeah.
now. The F-21 does.
The one that's most unreliable?
No, I wouldn't say that.
Oh, okay.
They
Well,
built things good back then.
It's 40 years old.
Yeah.
Boy, it is. You think about
No, I know you keep them up really well.
And we're
but-
waiting on the F11 to come in. That's the one that's coming in
Yes, I was hoping I could present that today.
tonight. Yeah.
it. That's a brand new one.
Yes, little special needs bus.
Are these other tribal school, all pretty easy to work with? These
They're-
other
They're
entities?
Thomas's like ours with the Cummins Insight.
Okay.
The
And
Head
you,
Start is also, it's not a Thomas, but it does have a ISB in it.
okay. And they're good to work with, not the buses, but the people?
Yes.
Okay.
So what if we decided to go electric?
Well, I would
Say that.
recommend not doing that. You could,
Why?
Well, first of all, they can only get 150 miles on a charge.
Oh,
And with us living here in Forks,
that get you someplace, but
Take a
not
long
get you
time to
back.
Yeah.
get to the right.
How long
Yeah.
do those take to charge?
depending on what charger you buy, and the quicker charge ones is more expensive, but
Sure.
overnight,
Oh,
you would have to charge it if you went to Port Angeles for a trip before you come back, just to make sure you make it.
make it
And that, the 150 mile is
under ideal.
depending on road conditions and weather, you know.
I was just gonna say, wasn't if it's colder.
Yeah.
It takes more. Yeah, that one.
Do you want to talk about the tribal electric bus?
I don't know a whole lot about that.
Okay. Well, they have proposed us, since we are their maintenance crew for their buses, to put they got a grant to get an electric bus and put an electric station in. But we haven't worked out all of the, not for us,
Who did?
the tribal school,
La Push?
correct.
Why don't
So
they
they'll
run
have to
it in a
charge when they
push?
come to town.
We haven't worked out all the details yet. But there's some issues with who's responsible for keeping the electrical charging and We just haven't worked out the details.
Do we want to?
And then our bus crew would have to be trained on how to service.
Yeah, we were offered the same grant. That
We turned it down.
Good.
How big are the buses? Same size?
they're a little bit smaller. And it'll be a front engine, a conventional. It's a Julie or something is what the Thomas version is.
Okay. A Joule. Oh, that's very electric.
Julie or-
Yeah, that's very electric. Joule?
Yes.
Yeah,
That sounds right.
It's an electric term.
So how many bus drivers do you have right now? Enough?
There's 7, and then Shinner has probably 5 subs.
Yeah, we have a lot of subs.
Oh, so you
Yeah.
do that.
Mhm.
One is Josh.
Oh, Goki.
So why, you still want more subs? Because I notice the signs are all still up.
We just never know at any time if a
So
sub
just keep it
goes
up.
elsewhere, yeah. It's always really good when we do our day trips for travel, when we have our competitions, so somebody can fill in for the local runs.
Gotcha.
Yep.
How much are buses going up? How much is this new bus we're waiting on?
Well, actually,
What
they
did
just
we
called
paid
and
for
said because the tariffs, the camera system went up and they wanted to split $1,200 for the camera system to be put in. They were gonna pay $700 and we were gonna pay $500 extra.
Additional.
Okay.
But what's the total cost of the bus?
184,000
I do have that.
to 184,000?
That sounds right.
I think
I was thinking, didn't we-
Oh,
we
six.
approved it, right?
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, we do it,
Well, that's a-
we approve it a year ahead of
special
time.
needs.
And then we get-
It's about 180.
We get 20 years of depreciation on it,
Mhm.
right?
Mhm.
Okay.
We're in good shape. Some other school districts have to run EP&O levies just for transportation. We've done a good job of rotating and keeping the ones that we
Well,
have
years,
in
you know,
line.
I bring this up probably every time he comes, but maybe not everybody's heard it. But years ago, we used levy money and bought a couple of buses at once in order to get on this
Cycle.
cycle of replacing every 2 years or whatever it turned out to be. So that was a good move because it seems like we're maintaining that pretty well. Good, okay.
And so all the buses have cameras on them now?
Yes,
Yeah,
and they're all working really well.
good. So
Well-
your newest lawnmower, this is a 23, the Grasshopper.
Yes,
Where do you, oh, down there.
So when do you think you have to buy another one?
they've been going like every 10 years.
So you got 3 you're rotating around with.
What's
So-
that?
You have 3 of them on here, plus a John Deere.
Yeah.
So,
John Deere's a writer, a standard that he uses for the smaller sections.
so what's a new Grasshopper going for?
This,
20?
the last one I think was right at 18,000.
Mhm.
Yeah, there.
Right under 20.
Are those zero
Mhm.
curve or zero turn?
Yes,
Mhm.
But they're diesel, aren't they?
yes.
Yeah. Is any of this stuff for the football field? You know,
The ATV
the
or the UTV,
Oh,
nothing else.
okay.
Oh, yeah, there's actually 3 pieces of equipment that I did that he tows around, the sweeper and
Oh,
the magnetic.
The magnetic catcher, yeah.
So
When
you
it
guys
goes-
do all that little stuff too?
The maintenance.
Yeah, the maintenance motors.
Mhm.
Good. And your roof is okay?
Yes.
You s- Yes. I mean, structure, your facilities in,
We're
Is
working on
holding
a
up.
hydraulic lift.
what's the hang up there?
They,
We don't have one now?
We have one.
Yeah, I
It's
thought,
old.
and we have a backup portable one that Clown Transit helped us with, or actually they purchased it. But the in-ground hoist needs to be replaced because it's been there since before I was there.
okay.
Or I've
And
been
that
there.
is ancient.
And the Stereo-Light in Portland, I've left messages with, and they're not
Got it.
returning. They're not returning our call.
How long you been there, Bruce?
Huh?
How long you been there?
28 years.
Jeez. Good for you. A lift for the buses?
Yes.
The
Wow.
hoist, yeah. Mhm,
Must be a pretty good lift.
mhm.
What would a ballpark figure be on?
Depends on what kind of we get,
Well,
anywhere
of
from
course it
50
does,
to
but-
300.
Holy cow.
Did I say that right?
Yes.
Depending on what,
So someplace in the
bells
middle,
and
probably
whistles.
150,000.
yeah, we just need to get somebody out here to see what our options are.
And they won't return, they must have a lot of business. Is there anybody in Seattle that does them?
I'm sure.
Okay,
We'll
all
work-
right, well,
we'll
no,
work on it.
I just question.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay,
We're
And-
just shooting it from the hip.
Yeah,
Yeah.
the Sterilite one, that's a pretty good lift.
Is that the most expensive one?
Problem,
well, we might as well get the
What was
best.
that? Oh, that was almost 300,000, right?
yes.
Yeah.
Well,
For the-
if it
yeah,
makes
they
your
got
job
those-
safe and efficient,
Mhm.
sometimes you
I wouldn't want to get into a bus with an unsafe.
No, we wouldn't either.
A lot of it, the ground, the shop floor has to be dug up.
Mhm.
to accommodate
yeah,
the
the-
new one,
Mhm,
because that other one's so old.
mhm.
And we're still working on a plan for the bus washer.
Mhm.
Okay. All right.
Looks like you're getting new neighbors.
Yeah. Extending the, house.
Is that a new Airbnb going, or a new
I don't
Airbnb?
think so.
I think it's a
Oh.
residential.
Oh, okay. So in the morning, you guys will just really rev your engines on the
Yeah,
buses.
they're loud enough just with the backup beepers.
Mhm.
Maybe they'll soundproof their house.
Well,
Okay.
on behalf of the board, please go back and tell Josh and the bus drivers and crew that you guys all do a great job keeping our fleet up and our buses safe and our transportation wonderful for kids. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks, Bruce.
Thanks, Bruce.
Appreciate it, Bruce.
All right, so the buses are good for another week. That's excellent. Now, consent agenda. Is there a motion to adopt tonight's consent agenda?
I'll make a motion, we accept tonight's consent agenda.
Cool, okay.
I'll second it.
Thank you. Any questions?
I saw something down through there, a contract with Mariposa House, which used to be Forks Abuse. And I think that was for mental health, maybe.
Mhm.
So are they taking the place of West End Outreach, or are we still dealing with both?
No, every once in a while they are assigned to families and it sometimes is easier to come to the school where the kid and the parent, of course, has permission that the kids see the services right in the school. It's least disruptive to the educational environment. Elena, did I say that right? And then they do some training on abuse, healthy relationships,
And that's
yeah.
an opt-in, so that parents have to approve their child being in that group.
Oh. Okay.
An opt-in, not an opt-out, right?
That's right.
Okay.
And this healthcare authority thing,
Yes.
what is that?
That is our prevention program. Mickey Viacana ran it. Jolene Price ran it for a while, and now we will be filling Mickey Viacana's position. It's prevention specialist. They do more things with a coalition rather than with students, and it's run. And that is for a 5-year period, and that is way more than we actually receive. It's just a generic number. I think it was a large sum. We don't
1.6
actually
million?
receive that much. Yeah,
Like, gee, what-
no.
So that's just kind of a guesstimate on
Yeah.
what they might need.
We were one of the first school districts to take on the grant when other entities in our community couldn't either figure out how to run it or did not want to run it. Some are run through hospitals in other counties, some are run through cities with the police department. But now the trend is school districts are running it, but it really is kind of outside of our toolkit. But we've done it now, I think, for almost 10 years.
Great. Any other questions? Okay. Is there, so we've had a motion. If there are no other questions, all those in favor of approving tonight's consent agenda, say aye.
I,
Aye. Any opposed, say no. It is approved. So let's move on down then to our reports. First on the list is leadership report is fall athletics. Kyle is here to talk to us about that.
Gotta stand close because I can't see.
yeah.
Do you need glasses?
If you need to get closer, go ahead.
No, I'm good. Yeah, we're just kind of winding down fall sports. We're getting toward the end of the season, so this is the time of year where I usually come and give you a little update on how things are going. Again, if you remember, we call it education-based athletics and activities because it's a big part of what we offer in the school system. It's a great way to engage kids with the school. So we know that when kids are participating in athletics, they have standards that they have to meet, particularly around attendance and grades. So generally, their participation is really important because their attendance is usually better and their grades are usually higher. So, and Hazel, you can just kind of keep clicking because this thing's got this is a new app. So first time I've used it. There we go. So again, attendance, something that we closely monitor. Grades, our athletes typically have better grades than their peers that aren't involved in sports. And then again, building community connections, again, about connecting kids to the school. And I think now more than ever, especially with alternative ed, it seems like kids are not always in our buildings from 8 to 3. Sports is another great way to connect them. And of course, building relationships with their peers, their coaches. A lot of your best memories or a lot of the best memories in school are sometimes associated with being on a sports team. So it's a really important part of what we offer. So again, we really focus on participation. Participation is a goal, again, because of the connection with academics and attendance. And really, these align well with our district improvement goals, our school improvement goals around attendance and academics. And so participation is something that we closely monitor. I can't read that slide, but basically it shows kind of the trends in participation from last school year,
Do you want me to read those really fast?
if you can.
Yeah, for middle school, there were 27 football players, middle school volleyball 20, cross country at 11. This fall numbers have shifted with football dropping to 14, volleyball rising to 31, and cross country decreasing to 10. And we had one cheer participant. The 8th graders can go with the high school.
So again, if you kind of just look at last year to this year with middle school athletics, the numbers are virtually the same in terms of participation, but the levels in each sport shifted significantly. So we dropped pretty significantly in football, but we really went up in volleyball, but the overall participation number is pretty close. And then with high school, I have to go back to the high school one real quick. You want to read that one down?
Yeah, for football in 2024, 2025, we had 30 participants. Volleyball had 27. Cross country, we had no participants because we had to cancel last year. We didn't have a coach. And then this year, football saw an increase to 38. Volleyball decreased to 18. Cross country rose to 13. And cheer and girls soccer remained steady with 11 and 12 participants, respectively.
Yeah, and the one I left off was there was actually 18 soccer players for girls last year. It wasn't in there, but so again, same kind of trend, relatively close to the same numbers of participation, just sort of shifting. Our goal, of course, is to increase that. We want to increase it, but if we're maintaining, I guess that's okay for now. And then again, there's kind of another summary. You can click to the next slide. So total 58, total 56, that's middle school. So 58 last year total and 56 this year total. And then if you flip over to the high school, it is 86 total participants in the fall compared to 92. And then so overall, you can see if you combine middle school and high school, last year we had 144 participants. This year we're at 148. So virtually kind of the same.
Yeah.
So, and then just a couple highlights from the season so far. Football team right now is 1-1 in league. They got a home league game this Friday. Kind of the story of the season has been injuries. Really got hit hard with injuries at the beginning of the season. So they've hung in there. It's provided some younger players an opportunity to play varsity. But it's been tough. So it's been a little bit of.
What kind of injuries primarily, or they run the gamut?
Serious.
Yeah, they run the
Head, I
gamut.
know we had some bad broken bones.
Yep, broken bones, knee injuries, shoulder injuries, just kind of runs the gamut. And not a good season for injuries, but they're hanging in there. They're being resilient. They're fighting hard. And like said, some of the younger players are getting to play. Volleyball right now is undefeated in league. If you remember last year, they were league champs, so they're hoping to repeat that. They have a big game going on in about an hour with Raymond. Probably decide who's the league champion between Forks and Raymond. So they're undefeated in league right now. Big game tonight. And then cheer's been awesome. Sassy's done a great job with the cheer program. I just say that they're just like always engaged in doing things and
Throughout the
spirited
entire
events.
game.
Yeah.
You guys have seen,
yeah.
been in a game, yeah.
Yeah, they this year, one of our first opening football games, we had a first responders night, and that was organized by our cheer staff. They did a wonderful job.
The
getting everybody
parade
there.
was organized by
The
them.
parade was done by the cheer staff.
Well, good for you.
I'm trying to get Sassy to do more.
Yeah,
She's
get a
been
drill
awesome.
team going.
Yeah, she's done, so she's been great. Cross country team has been a really bright spot this year, especially going from not being able to have a team last year, not being able to find a coach. And this year we hired Hugo Lucas. And, it's tough when you don't have a program for a year to really build it back. And so we started really small. I mean, we only had like two or three kids coming out during the first week or so of practice. But we stuck with it, and that was the thing. We're going to stick with it. We're going to keep offering practice, and the kids know that there's somebody there they can count on. They'll start to come. And so he's built it up to 13 kids, and they're having a great time. There's 10 boys, 3 girls. They're competing well. Just really positive stuff going on with cross country, so I feel good about where that program's going. Girls soccer, same thing. We had a really tough start. Had a hard time finding a coaching staff. We ended up even delaying the season because we did end up hiring a coaching staff like kind of right at the start. But they've been a bright spot too. I mean, they only have 11 kids, and that's what you need to play. And they've actually won more games this year than they have in the last 2 combined. And they're playing just with 11 kids, so no room for error.
But I did notice they get a little tuckered toward the end of.
Well, yeah. No
That's a
breaks.
lot of 100-yard runs, I'll tell you.
Yeah, they're playing Iron Girls soccer. So, anyways, it's been again a positive spotlight for that program, and I think the new coaching staff and what they're doing. Kids are engaged, they're competitive. Hopefully, we'll be able to add some more participants next year. And then at the middle school, same thing. Despite low numbers, I mean, we only have 11 or 12 kids out there. And it takes 11 to play a game. They've won 2 of their games. They beat Swim and Blue Heron.
Well, and it's good experience. They get to play both sides.
Yeah, and same thing, Ironman football. And
They're
so
tough, yeah.
It's been neat to see them stick with it and have success. Volleyball really increased in participation numbers. Again, volleyball is always competitive, but again, showing kind of strong interest with kids in our community in that sport, so that continues to be popular. And then the cross-country team been pretty consistent with numbers of kids turning out there.
I noticed that a recent meet was canceled for I guess it was middle school cross country.
No, we had a high school meet.
High
that we
school
had to
meet,
cancel.
okay.
Yeah, we had a conflict in schedule with our coach and a prior commitment. that
And
couldn't
didn't we
work
have
around.
some poor air quality too?
That was at the beginning of the year
Okay.
with the middle school meet. Yeah, our very first middle school meet because of the wildfires. They had poor air quality in Swim, and so they canceled the meet.
How far do the middle schoolers run?
So they start off, I think, at 1.5 miles, and then they build up to a 2-mile course.
And the high school's what, 2.5, 3?
I think three or four. Yeah, was 2,000 or 2,500 is 2 miles. I
Mhm.
think the high school is 5,000.
Mhm.
So
5K.
4 miles. Yeah. And then just a real quick thing with the middle school meet, we did host a a meet for the middle school NRC. And that was really well received by the other teams in the league. They like coming out here. They like that course. It's really challenging. But we got a lot of kudos for preparation, setup. The high school team worked with the middle school team on making sure the trail was clear, marked. They went through and spray painted all the stumps and the roots and the things that they could.
Those ones get ya.
The other teams really enjoyed coming out here because it's a unique kind of course and it's challenging. So
It's not a golf course.
not a golf course, no,
Mm-mm.
or the
That's good.
airport, yeah. One other thing I wanted to highlight was a sportsmanship summit, which actually happened today. That's a thing that was sponsored by our league. So every few years, each of the member schools try to bring some of their student leaders, good role models together and give them an opportunity to interact with each other, talk about sportsmanship, leadership, and usually they have a presenter. And so our kids just went, we actually sent 7 kids today down to Raymond, and we helped sponsor the Positive Coaching Alliance, which is that program we've been using with our coaches. And we got them to go down and do a presentation for all the kids in the league. So again, kids are hearing that same sort of message around sportsmanship. And it's the same message, the same verbiage that we're giving our coaches. So we've kind of spread that out to the league now. So that was pretty cool. I talked to Jen LeDuc and Rob Rogers were the ones that chaperoned, and they said it went really well. They said our kids were, it got them out of their shell. You know, they weren't used to having to get up and interact with other kids. And so it was really good for some of them. And then I think the coaches got some ideas about, other kids that they might want to nominate to participate in that. Maybe not like the kids that are the leaders now, but maybe ones that could develop into leaders. So it changed their perspective on who they might invite next time around. So that's a highlight. And then 2 other things I wanted to highlight through the Forks Coaches Association. We continue to meet monthly with our officers, Rob Rogers, Ishmael Ramos, myself, David Hearn, and plan activities and trainings for coaches, parents in the district. So we're planning one. We want to do a youth one, similar to what we've done with coaches and high school athletes around sportsmanship. So targeting like 5th through 8th graders. Again, we think another lens of looking at teaching respect in our schools with athletics, again, partnering with the work that our principals are doing around Character Strong. So we're planning a workshop for kids sometime in the spring. We got to coordinate that. And then we also just booked one to be on October 26th. It's a Sunday evening, and we're bringing a sports nutritionist that's going to come and talk about healthy lifestyles, healthy eating, other things, to enhance just general overall health and being an athlete. David Hearn actually saw the person speak in Chelan, and so Coaches Association got with him, and we're going to bring him out on Sunday the 26th.
Is that for just?
Be for athletes, parents. Yeah, we're going to get a flyer out and start advertising here pretty quick.
Cool.
So,
And that will be like here at the Commons.
yeah.
And then to piggyback on what you brought up at our last board meeting about fees and fines, I think you were the one who brought up that is true. It was the hot topic, one of the hot topics at my superintendent meeting, that now if we have an out of compliant player who's yelling at the ref, yelling obscenities or misbehaving, then the player can get fined $200. If the coach is out of compliance, the coach can get fined.
Well, they're going to find the school.
They're going to fine us.
Yeah, and so it's really new territory, so we've yet to really work through
Same thing with
who's actually
parents.
paying the fine.
Well, I think
So
that's
the
really
school will have to
fine.
pay for the parents.
We will be responsible for everyone. And so one of the things that we will, when and if it happens, and most of the other school districts that I talk to are going to pass on the fine or fee to the individual who incurred it.
How do they do
There's
that
got to be
legally?
consequences, yeah.
Mhm.
How do they do that legally?
They issue them a fee for
I guess you fine them,
non-compliance.
right?
Yeah, you fine them.
Fine them
And
to
if
the
you don't
school,
pay it?
and you don't get your diploma. that's
Well,
right.
we can't hold a student's diploma. I don't know what happens if we
hope
have
they
a
think that-
visiting parent from wherever. I guess
Well,
it would go to the
that-
other
Go
school.
to the other
Yeah.
school, yeah.
We wouldn't be able to participate in the game, though.
I guess that's the only thing
It
you'd
depends
have.
on who's reffing. I mean, and I think
Yeah.
part of this has come out of, I hate to target a sport, but my understanding is that there've been some really out of compliance soccer games
Yeah, if you look at the data on penalties around boys soccer.
Not
it's
just
through the
here,
roof.
I meant
Well,
statewide, nationwide, yeah.
And so, so that's their new strategy to try and, basically what they've said is everything else they've done hasn't changed anybody's behavior. So this is the new strategy to try and change
Behavior.
So like I said, yet to play out because hopefully we don't have any, but
Yeah, I'm hoping
Yeah.
we don't have any, but now I understand what you were
Are the
talking
rules in
about.
place?
they're in place.
So it's good to go. So it could happen Friday night if somebody mouths off in such a way.
Yeah.
And there's just all the more reason to do the uploading, the front loading with the positive coaches alliance and being good role models, professional development for our coaches, having good supervision at our events. The
I
whole
would
thing.
think that'd be pretty flagrant though. I mean, you'd have
I
to-
mean, there's a lot of cuss words towards officials,
Oh, is it?
F-bombs that happen and those you'll get a monetary fine for that.
As they
Yeah.
should. And I think it's been hard to find people to do those roles.
Officiate, yeah.
Because
Yeah, nobody
they're
wants to-
getting yelled at.
Nobody
Mhm.
wants to officiate.
No.
Yeah.
No.
It's been that way in Little League since I was a kid, probably before. You hardly find umpires because of the parents.
Little League, it's the parents.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
Or
Because of the
grandparents do that
parents.
too.
Grantees, yeah.
Yeah.
And the last
Very-
thing I'd just like to say is gratitude to our coaches and all the
Mhm.
support staff. Again, coaches put a lot of time, energy, and effort in helping shape our kids. They're doing a great job. Our coaches are engaged in learning, trying to get better themselves, modeling, getting better. And then the people that put on the events takes a lot. Tina Hagan does a wonderful job organizing contest management. Sometimes it's hard to find people, but the people that do step up, we really appreciate them. People that supervise events, our administrators. Mr. Cabell has gotten some supervision duties this year. So, just gratitude to all those folks that make it happen. Again, it's an important thing for our kids. So we're happy so far with the fall sports. Looking forward to winter coming up pretty quick. November 17th.
Yeah, thanks, Kyle.
Yeah.
Thank you, Kyle.
Thanks, Kyle.
Okay. Diana, PLC implementation.
So just as important, our focus has been really trying to narrow in on our essential learning standards. So we have a guaranteed and viable curriculum. And I put in the board packet just an example of our last training. But I wanted to acknowledge, go on to the next page. Yeah, right there. So we if you remember, there's a 3-year implementation period where the first year is focused on teams identifying their essential learning standards. Second year is focusing on common formative assessments, and third year on calibrating interventions and accelerations. And you'd like to say that it's a nice, easy process. It's really challenging. And just like in a classroom, we have teachers who are in different spots. We have teams who are in different spots. So one of the first things that we decided to do, and you're more than welcome to take a look at, I didn't make a copy for everyone, but I think we had 78 responses to a survey, which is really good. That means almost all of our certificated staff responded. And it asked them what's going well, what's not going well, what are your challenges, what other feedback do you want to give us? And then Kirsten, I don't remember how she figured out to do this, but I think it was one of our suggestions in our own learning, the leadership team, put it in ChatGPT, and ChatGPT really identified what some of the issues are. And so in looking at this, I wanted to share with you that it's hard work. And if you come and visit our schools at some time and want to watch what we're doing, this would be a great activity for you to just watch a team of teachers and what we're doing during this time. But some of the things that we saw trends in the survey results were that they really think that time is one of the biggest issues. So I'll tell you verbatim what they said. 45 minutes each Wednesday is not enough time. We need sustained blocks of time or paid release days or added pay for after school because they feel like they're really rushed and crammed. I mean, when you're talking about a learning standard, part of it is learning it as a team. So you're really making sure that you're doing the work around it. They need clarity. Again, the process is rather messy. It's not a linear. And then we have buildings and we have teams in different spots. So they want, we're building a kind of a one sheeter of common terms so that people understand what it is we're talking about. And then making sure our PLCs, the actual learning communities fit the roles of the staff. So we're moving a few people. And then supporting, addressing uneven workloads, and then recognize that a lot of our staff, it's easier for some and harder for others. But I wanted to acknowledge how it felt really good to get genuine feedback, and the fact that they participated in the feedback and told us what they were thinking is very powerful in itself, because that means that they're trusting the process, they're working on the process. Part of the other thing I wanted to share with you is I had my first learning focused conversations with each of the building principals. They get to choose the celebrations that they want to talk about and then the challenges. All three principals, again, they were separate meetings, talked about this process and how it's changing the work that they're doing with kids. They're seeing progress. And so I wanted to assure you that what we're doing is, one, hard work. If you talk with teachers, talk to them about it, but also recognize that you're doing really hard work and it's worth it, because we did see some serious gains on the test. And I think we'll continue to see serious engagement because we're going to better reach our kids. And then I have two building principals here, Dr. Bill, who's doing the work. If you wanted to share anything or ask them questions of where they think their teams are. But one of the things we keep talking about is maybe restructuring our early releases next year to where we do it every other Wednesday and build a longer period of time so they have more concentrated time. 45 minutes, if you watched what they're doing, they barely get into the work and then boom. And so
What limits, I mean, what determines what we've set as for our early release now?
we can do it, structure it however we want. If we were going to restructure our early release time, I would want parent input though, because I don't want to upset our parents and daycare but I also
Right.
want to make sure we're getting after the work.
So
We have to meet-
time do they get out
Uh,
now at early release?
2:15.
So
our
that's-
meetings start at 2, our meetings go from 2:30 to 3:30.
By the time people get there, get started, really, it's about 50 minutes.
So why don't we just make it I agree, check with parents and, transition it somehow, but maybe it ought to be a true half day.
We couldn't do that every single day. Well, we have to serve breakfast and lunch. And
And
we
then let
have to
'em go
make
home.
sure we get our 1,000 whatever hours to meet the minimum basics education standard. And we would have to calendar that out.
Uh,
And so that's why I don't know, we really need to talk about it. And
Yeah.
I'll get a group to talk about it before we would announce it anywhere. But I wanted to just kind of plant that thought that, I mean, I see them nodding.
Well, it sounds from the results of your survey, it sounds like to me, that you do have a lot of buy-in in staff, and that makes me feel like there's a lot of engagement that I'm not sure I was ever really totally convinced that half days were getting
Or the
that
early
kind
release.
of, the early
Mhm.
release was getting that kind of engagement. So it seems like we should do all we can to accommodate. It's like Kathy Johnson and her library kids, when silent reading's over, they want to do more reading. Well, these teachers, the staff is plugged into this, and they're maybe hard work, but they're also starting to see results. So we certainly should do all we can to accommodate that.
I at some point further on down the road, I'd like a team to come show you some of the work they've done. All of the work is captured in one Google folder, so you could go in there and look at in the kindergarten. These are the essential learning standards. We're requesting that they do 1 common formative assessment in the fall and 2 in the spring. So what that would look like, base count to 10. We're going to monitor our kids, bring all of our data together and say which kids got it, which kids didn't, what strategies did you use? Because you got 90% of your kids, I only got 50% of mine, where you sort and you look at your strategies. And that's where the real learning comes in. So, but at some point we want to share that with you. We've got a couple of teams that are really ready to go.
Is that working now? That idea? I mean, 90-50, they collaborate to see what,
They're
I
not
mean,
there yet.
they're not
That's what
there
they're
yet.
working on.
okay.
That's
'cause
I
that-
have one team who's very close to being there. but
Because
they're very intentional about the time that they spend together. And one of the gifts that my staff has that the other buildings don't have is that the majority of my PLC groups are grade level banded. So they have common prep time because the kids have the same lunch and recess. So my staff is blessed in having extra time to collaborate together if they want. And some of my staff are really taking advantage of that and they're farther along. But it's hard work.
It's a process that really
Yeah.
strikes me as one that needs, you really got to check your ego at the door. Because if you're looking at your
Mhm.
fellow instructor and they're doing 90% and I'm only doing 50,
It really is learning together.
yeah.
And building trust with one another. And so one of the other things that we realize is that when it says some of the teams are uneven, it just means we've got new members to a team. And then you take it to the middle school level where they're a vertical team and they don't necessarily teach the same essential learning standards, but they've got to figure out, a good example would be if you're in ELA, you're all going to do one writing sample and look for the similarities in whether you're in grade 6, 7, or 8.
Right.
Because they're all going to take the same Smarter Balanced in the 10th grade. That's the goal. But they're coming along. I'm really proud of the work they're doing. This is the most focused we've been on instruction.
Yeah.
And I really think that it's hard work and we have some resistance and that's typical. And we have some really go-getters but we're still keeping at it. And the building principals are really in charge of that and doing a great job.
So is this happening every Wednesday?
Almost.
So
Almost.
like
We have other
tomorrow?
things we have to do.
What's that?
We'll be in the commons as a group, K-12 tomorrow.
Doing this?
Mhm.
How do you do that?
Kirsten McCracken will lead because we're trying to get calibrated on what a common formative assessment is. It's not the end of the unit. It's like we're going to do a dipstick to see where they are on one standard or one standard in a unit that we're doing.
Huh.
And so some really understand it, some don't. So we're going to go back over what that process looks like
That's
and
at
what the
2:30
terms
And
mean.
that's at 2:30?
2:30. You're welcome to come.
Of course. Thank you.
So after year 3, what do? Start over?
You don't ever quit. It's really a systems
Fine-tune
change,
it.
the way you work, rather than closing your door, shutting your door and being an individualist. You're working with a team. You're getting better every year and you're going back and going, these kids, this grade level is different than the last grade level. We need to shift our learning standards, or we need to better calibrate with the team below or the team above. I mean, if you really implement it, it becomes a way of work.
Yeah, it's really about student learning, and so, looking at the standards and, we have the 90% goal, and so what are we gonna do to get our kids to that 90%? So the next 2 questions is, what are we gonna do for the kids that are not reaching standard, and what are we gonna do for the kids that are, and what are the factors? And so that is just an ongoing conversation as a career in teaching and learning, so.
So this,
ending.
yeah. So this is our what, second year, third year?
Mhm, second.
Year. Next year, we're gonna get some new teachers. Have we, I don't know that we've maybe I've just forgotten. Have we talked about how a new teacher, since they don't teach this in teaching school, I'm assuming not all of them, how are new teachers, do they catch on just by attending these PLC gatherings or
2 things.
or is that what the mentorship
Part of the
does?
mentor program, the intentional work that Kirsten McCracken is doing, will focus on what it is. But the beauty of it is then a first grade teacher can go into our PLC folder and look at units that they're going to teach throughout the year, 8 to 10 units that are aligned to a standard. as
Oh,
opposed
well,
to,
that saves
I'm gonna
them a-
do whatever I'm
Right,
gonna
then you don't
do.
have to think
I'm
of it.
gonna follow a curriculum that has 140 standards. Instead, you go, oh, I know I'm doing this unit. I might pick and choose a little differently than my partner, but then when we go in to talk about it, I'm gonna go, what did you use? Oh, that works better. Maybe we should be using X, Y, or Z. You're not
Gotcha.
just following a textbook. I'm doing page 7 today. Doing page 20
Are
today.
other schools doing this?
Mhm.
Around here? I mean,
South Kitsap is in our cohort. There are about 10 school districts in our cohort, but there's only, I think, 3 from Washington State.
oh, wow.
But the schools that really implement it with fidelity, you can see the results.
Do you collaborate with them and kind of?
You know, the work that we've done, the 2-hour sessions that we've done,
Oh,
yeah, that's,
That's right.
And we have some more of those coming up that
Yeah.
we're gonna talk
Yeah.
about later.
So it's statewide or is it nationwide?
the work that Solution Trees does is nationwide. And they originated their work in White River School District in Washington State. Yeah, that's my report.
Great, thanks, Deanna. And board, good discussion. Board member reports. Anybody have a report?
The only thing I can say is, how about them Mariners? That's all.
Yeah. It's a good thing the board meeting was tonight, huh?
Yeah, no one would have been here.
No, tomorrow. We're on a roll. Kevin?
No.
Okay,
I got a
Shannon?
lot.
well, good. Well, good. Glad to hear it. Lay it on us.
All right, so I'll just go down my list. I read your Friday stuff, the rooms.
Mhm.
I didn't, what is that a new way of communicating?
Yeah, okay, so our,
You can tell another time, I don't know.
no,
if
it's
new.
good. Our Thrill Share, which is our website, it's got everything housed. It has an application in Thrill Share now where our staff are to communicate with parents through rooms.
And this is replacing, what it used to be called?
Dojo,
Dojo.
or what did we use in
Remind app.
Remind app? Yeah,
And this is called
So this-
Thrills.
this is called Rooms.
Oh, rooms.
Centralized hub, it's all tied to our website, it's all one centralized hub.
Is it working better?
It's a systems.
We are just getting,
Okay,
we
don't
are
know yet.
just learning how to use it. I will tell you from the elementary school, what I picked up with, in talking with Sarah and other staff members, Dojo was really easy, friendly, kid-friendly, parent-friendly. So Rooms is not as easy to use, doesn't
Oh.
have all the bells and whistles, but I think they're in the process of changing their product again for next year because of some of the complaints that they've gotten. But
Well-
before we didn't have a unified approach.
Okay, so you had one in
So,
elementary. And
If you had an elementary, a middle, and a high school, you would get 3 different notifications 3 different ways. So we're
Okay.
trying to centralize it. That's the point.
The other cool thing, Shannon, is that it's tied to our webpage, and so when I send like a message, I can also post it on the Folks Middle School webpage so that families can access the information there or through the app.
So you've already got it figured out?
No, it's learning by doing, and so I every time I get on, I learn a little bit more, and as the more I use it, the more, the easier.
Okay.
Do you want to be, if you want to be, we can put, I don't know if we can put you in rooms because you don't have children here. I have to ask Lindsay. Lindsay's spearheading this from her end.
Well, I don't think I need to hear what you're telling Jane Smith.
Yeah,
about
you
her
would get
child.
inundated actually, and that's one of the things that I do hear from parents who have kids in 3 buildings is I'm getting inundated. The goal though is you can communicate 2-way, and I will tell you what's really good for the staff is it protects them so that the information is logged and kept in there. So if there's ever a question, we can go back and see what was communicated. And it's simple. A person should be able to get it on their phone, which is what a lot of our parents want. They want it on their phone. They don't want to have to log into 40 different places.
yes.
Yeah, that makes
So,
sense.
I like it.
And I would like to give Lindsay Wallerstead a huge shout out for her support in helping my families get set up on Thrill Share. as Diana said, it's a huge adjustment for my teachers and their students' families, because Class Dojo was pretty user-friendly. I also, my staff has been doing a great job of charging forward with it, and they're making it work. And we're hopeful that we'll find some things that will make it even more user-friendly for them. But Lindsay came to our open house night and spent time working with my families on getting set up. We realized that there was a language barrier in our non-English speaking families and accessing it. And so we set up an event for our Spanish and mom speakers to come. Lindsay came and was able to get probably 80 families onboarded onto the system in that event. She has been just so responsive to families in getting set up in it. So huge shout out to her.
And the other thing in your letter, your email, I don't know if you guys read it, that
Yeah.
Diana talked about how she got in trouble with her cell phone going into the middle school.
Oh,
It was
yeah.
a really cute story. But that got me thinking, how the cell phone usage is going. I know it's here for the middle school. Brenda's not here tonight, but maybe in a future meeting she can talk about.
We have Bill here who could talk about it.
Oh, yeah. How's the cell phone usage going in the high school?
It's going pretty well. We're experiencing a little bit of backsliding from last year where we kind of pushed it in a different way that we can't push it this year, and that's okay. But it's a little bit difficult in the classroom. Teachers are finding it more difficult to follow the district blue sheet policy. But that's just a matter of practice. That's just not what we were used to. And so we're learning that too. We're learning that policy to get those.
Is that the policy that we updated the policy 2 years ago?
But the blue sheet is for what we would consider a minor offense that the teacher is supposed to handle in their classroom versus a yellow sheet, which is a major, which means I need to get the kid out of here because this is a higher level than putting your head down on the desk, putting your phone out. But that way you can collect the blue sheets and find out where the patterns are of the kids who are constantly using their phones in all of the classrooms.
So I know last school year, they were being just sent directly to the office.
Yep.
If they had their phones out.
Yep.
And this year, that's not happening, or?
Right. This year we're using the appropriate protocol to go through the steps. I think last year was really good to just make it serious. Like teachers knew, students knew this is serious. This is really happening. And this year, like just with my teacher hat on, it's been way easier than it was before we did that to maintain the control in the classroom. Now we're serious now. Put your phone away means you can't have your phone out anymore. Teachers always want things to be easier in the classroom, and recording that and writing that form out takes a little bit of work. And so it just
Takes away from teaching.
takes away from teaching. And so like that doesn't mean that the policy needs to change or that it's not right. It just means that there's a little bit of like a relearning curve for teachers to get back into that mode. But it's also really good for us to have that documentation, like this happened this time, this happened this time, and now it goes to the yellow sheet. Now it's getting taken care of. So,
Okay.
I mean, I think the teachers recognize the power of the process. It's just taking us a little bit of time to click into that new process, if that makes sense. So
Well, yeah, it's a new process. It's changed, and it's going to take a little while before we can get to a zero phone
And then it's going to be
policy. because-
critical that there's consistency too.
Right, well, and that's probably the key.
Yeah.
Over time, eventually, there's going to be a generation of kids that will come up through the school and know they can't have their phones on in the school.
And that's why we updated the policy to begin with, so it was,
Starting to do
throughout.
that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So all the teachers have the same support.
And there is talk at the state level of a state policy that would make every school ban phones, where they had to put them in a container at the front of the door if they walk in with them.
Well, and that's
Then
where
we can
that's why
blame
I'm
the
kind of
governor.
asking that, is that if that's something, because I read what all the other school districts are doing, and a lot of them have gone that route. And as much as I would hate to, but I mean, is it something that we're gonna have to do and update our policy?
Sure.
Just,
But if we, you know, if we can do this in a kind of gradual,
Mhm.
not too gradual, but then that's a way to go.
Yeah.
That way we get more buy-in.
It's going well at the middle school. I mean, it's like, they are very few referrals anymore. And the kids will go ahead and just hand it over because they know the consequence. They know that they either lose it for the rest of the period or the rest of the day, and parents have been very supportive.
good.
And I wanted to give Sarah a shout out. I was at her non-certified staff meeting this morning. I did not see one cell phone out. They were highly engaged as adults. They were not on their phones. They had a 30-minute meeting, and part of it was to interact with one another, and kudos. I didn't see a phone out.
So Sarah, how many kindergartners bring phones?
Cell phones are a non-issue at my.
Yeah, that's
They're
fine.
not an issue.
Okay.
Perfect. Thank
I
you
don't
for
know if I wrote a referral last year.
And my other thing, I want a couple more things. A big, Kyle already touched on it with Sassy and Leon's. She's doing such a great job putting that parade together. I don't know if you guys saw it or wherever, but district office had a great little, float or whatever. It was really fun. And I also wanted to, kudos to the City of Forks, because they allowed the school to do that. And, it was a lot of work for their staff, and it went perfect. So
It's fun.
yeah, I think next year it'll even,
Be bigger.
be better, bigger, better. So, and then the other one, last thing, sorry.
Okay.
I know, I'm part of all these groups online and whatnot, and I know we all have this issue. You get online and you see something, like you see this horrible flood, and you're like, oh my gosh, this is awful. And it's AI generated or whatever. And same with headlines, you read this and you're like, oh, I can't believe that's happening. I just want to encourage parents, community members to, if they, hear something that's happening with schools, to maybe reach out to one of us, ask us, and then we can, bring it to Diana, maybe have a subject during our meetings to, there's a lot of big topics out there right now that are concerning to parents, especially when we talk about our brick and mortar schools, sending their kids and stuff. And I think there's also a lot of misinformation out there. There's one topic I read, and I read a little further, and I was like, oh, okay, that's not really what the headline, doesn't match the headline, of what the actual rules are. And so I just think it's important. I know I have a topic I got to Diana maybe next month or something we'll bring up, but I just think there's a lot of misinformation out there. So I think it's important. If people have concerns, to reach out to one of us. And I mean, that's what we're here for. We're here
Ask
to
us what
support.
it really means at the kindergarten level to teach about health.
Yes, exactly. Yes. That's the one topic.
It's a great idea.
And that's it. That's it for me.
Thanks, Shannon. Myron. Wake.
I am here. Sorry, I turned my camera off for a second if my daughter walked by. Things are going great. We're into our next, as we're always enrolling. Our next enrollment group starts their week of welcome on Monday. We already have 160 kids approved for that week of welcome for next Monday. And including those students as of today, our approved head count is 3,228.
Wow.
Great.
I see a budget extension in the future.
I'm thinking back to Frank Walter times when this was just getting started, and
Six.
how few, and we didn't see that, had to have faith that this was going someplace, because yeah.
How is your Canvas or your platform change going?
It's going actually fairly well. We just got notified today that they have finalized the design and the testing of the new K-5 experience. So what K-12 has done is they built a don't know why, what would be the word to use for it? It's like a, it's not a screen, what's it called? Like an overlay that will be kind of customizing the K-5 experience to make it a little bit more user-friendly for the younger children. And so that is going to go live depending on the school and different issues as early as probably November, as late as January, depending on what the school's configurations are. So that experience looks like it's going to be really nice. It's going to be much easier for the little kids to understand and see. So we're excited for that to launch very soon.
Great. Okay, thanks, Myron. Okay, well, that concludes our report section. Let's go to old business. The bond replacement, the pre-design bond committee report.
And so we had our first meeting and Bill and Mike were there and you're happy to jump in. And then we're getting ready for our second meeting, the Thursday, the 23rd or something. Is that right?
Next Thursday.
Next Thursday, yeah. And then Jay will come and give you an update on the fields, because we're making substantial progress on the engineering of our fields. And he'll also bring you up-to-date information on the pre-bond. But I put in your packets, I don't know, Bill and Mike, do either one of you want to talk about what we did at that first meeting?
No, go ahead.
I mean, basically, yeah, we just broke up into
Will
little
you-
teams and
Will
had
you
our.
pull up the core
Those and put 'em
values
on
so
the wall.
the community, so we had a great turnout of community members. Everybody showed. There were just a couple who couldn't be there. And then Jay kind of went over what our meetings would consist of, the schedule, what each meeting would focus on, and then we got to work. And the first thing that we did is identified what we would consider key project values. There's some on that didn't make the list that were like sustainability with renewable energy. We didn't care about that. But we really tried to focus on what the needs of the building are. And so the ones that came about were the durable, maintainable, because it's going to be a 50+ year building. Making it flexible design with 2029 as start. And again, looking at a 50 to 60 year building, we don't know where education is going to be. Having a prominent entrance, we talked about the fact that there's 4 different ways you can get into the element or the middle school, and really truly the entrance by the cafeteria is not the best way. We'll talk about the vehicular separation and safety and security. We want it practical, not wasteful, not a lot of money, but nice and sturdy. Making it a community asset, really looking at the gym space. We talked a lot about the middle school gym is really not good for participation of parents coming to watch because there's no place to sit. A site that could be available to the community for other projects. Talked a lot about security and safety with the vehicular separation, the buses, the cars, the routes, because that whole area, I don't even know what street that is. Is it East? Yeah, just congested, and we're lucky that we have kept our kids safe. And then safety and security being, of course, one of the number one, with a really in-your-face place where the visitor check-in is, where you can lock down the building, where kids don't have to go between buildings. But I thought it was really positive, the meeting. Everybody there were really on board. Like, why haven't we done this sooner? Is what we heard.
Yeah.
It was overwhelmingly positive.
What
That's
time-
my take.
What time is that meeting on?
5:30,
And how many do you have on your?
about 16. Mm-hmm.
We had Subways.
Oh,
had
they
some-
fed you. That's That's good.
My little placard was, what was that, like sentimental value, anything we want to save from the old to bring with the new. Pretty much everybody shot it down. They said, no, there's nothing. We don't want any
You don't
reminders.
want, you don't want the leaky windows, the flat roof, the small rooms and narrow hallways. No,
The
everybody
small
got a
bathrooms.
placard and then we had to rank it where it went. If it went to the front, we put it on the wall. If it was kind of middle, and then at the end, we didn't want it, so we got rid of a whole bunch on the end. But I felt like this is really kind of the Forks story. And
Yeah.
kind of what we did with this building, you know.
I kind of misunderstood my placard for a long time till I got home.
What was your placard?
Well, it was like a design. It wasn't a timeless design. It was like in 50 years, you could tell that the school was built in 2025 instead of, and otherwise I would have put it far to the right because you want something that,
Last.
but I'm not sure that you can ever do that completely. In 50 years, you're going to be able to date the middle school. But that's okay. I think the group hit the highlights, and mostly it was, well, the primary was safety and durability,
Mhm.
practicality. Yeah, for sure. Given a much changed atmosphere from whenever that was built back in the 60s.
50s.
50s.
Partial 50s, partial
long time
70s,
ago.
partial 90s.
Time to make it a total 2027.
So when I went to kindergarten, that was a new building. I didn't even know it.
Yeah, because that was the, what did they
60.
call it? The not elementary,
It was the elementary.
was it the elementary then?
So you were one of the first ones.
So we should memorialize one of the classrooms as a Kevin Henson.
Mhm. Kevin Henson room.
First one on the left. Mrs. Studebaker.
First one on the left when you walk in from
Yeah.
Spartan.
That kind of makes you old.
Yeah. Getting there.
And maybe we can incorporate that classroom in the new design.
Mhm. Kevin's room.
Kevin's room.
Then the next
All right.
year, it was Mrs. Albert across the hall.
Okay, so stay
Okay.
tuned. I'm excited for the next
Okay.
meeting.
All righty, then, next on old business is the
I think electrical.
class of 2032 constitutional bylaws, and that requires a motion from us.
I'll make a motion that we accept the Safe Walk to School resolution.
No,
Which one? Where we
wrong
at?
one.
Up one.
Oh, I lost count.
2032.
I'm getting old.
That's okay.
Oh, the 2022. Okay, that
32.
one.
God, that's a long time away.
The bylaws
The
one.
bylaws.
That's current fifth grade class.
Okay. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Thanks. Any questions for the fifth grade? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed, say
That's
no.
my granddaughter's class.
That
Okay,
is?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Fifth grade.
Fifth grade.
She's in
I
fifth
think,
grade now.
maybe, I don't know.
all right, let's go on to new business. Safe walk to school resolution. This is one we do every year.
It never changes,
No, I
does it?
just realized that it should be for students in the 25-26 school year.
That's what it says. Oh, but not on the document?
No, it's in the very next to last.
Oh, 24.
Yeah,
25,
when
I
you
see
make
that.
the recommendation, or when whoever makes the motion, say with that change.
Wait a minute. Oh, I see, yeah.
But
Okay.
we did have, Tammy and Bruce did a drive around just to check on everything, didn't you? As part of the safety committee, to make sure that we have a safe walk route to school.
And we still don't.
Mm-mm.
Okay. Well, is there a motion then to adopt this resolution?
I already tried it once.
I'll make
Try
a
to get,
motion.
well, try it again with the correction of the date.
I'll make a motion to approve the Safe Walk to School resolution, and with the change of updating the dates to 25-26 school year.
Thanks. Is there a
I'll second.
Thank you, Mike. Any questions about that before we vote? Okay, all those in favor say no. I mean, yes.
Yay.
Yes.
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say no. All right, I think it passed. All right. Sorry about that. Next is Board Policy 6550, capitalization threshold for leases and subscription-based information technology arrangements, SBITAs. This is a first reading.
Yeah, we actually have this language nestled in another policy that I'll bring back and pull it out of there and put it in this one. I think this changed 2 years ago, but we're just now getting for it to stand by itself. But this requires Jan for any contract, technology type contract for over 10,000 that exceeds one term in excess of 1 year, where she has to write that as liability for the district at the end of the year.
We have a lot of those.
Not really.
What would it be? What's an example?
Xerox, if you had like a 5-year contract.
Oh, okay.
Edgy climber.
A what?
Nothing.
What's an edgy climber?
A lot of our technology are 1-year contracts that roll over into another year. Like to renew it, you don't have to go back through and get the whole contract, but we don't have a 5-year contract. We're committed to it for 5 years.
Okay, so anything over 1 year is the kicker.
1 year and over $10,000 a year.
So if we renew it every year, that's not the same thing. Okay. All righty.
Because it becomes a liability if you have a 5-year contract and.
Yeah. You're committed to
Yeah.
it. Gotcha. All right. Any further questions on the first reading? You'll see it again next meeting. Timber sales for 2024-25.
So in your board background, can you pull that up, Hazel?
Sure. It's really small.
Yeah, and I'm pulling it open and it's blurry.
There's a little plus thing down here in the magnifying glass that makes it grow.
Oh, maybe that'll work. Oh yeah, that does work.
It really jumps around.
Go down to the far right corner though.
It's
And-
current.
Yeah, and then you can see all the way over to the left, there's the timber excise tax, that's private timber. And-
Wait. Oh, okay.
Far over
yeah.
to the left.
Left, yeah.
The
Okay.
left?
The other right.
Well, just so you can read the lines, and then there's the state forest, DNR, transfer lands, and then the federal forest. And then if you look at, okay, now go over to the corner where it's 24-25, you can see the general fund. That's because we passed our EP&O levy. That's what we collect in there. Not the federal forest, but that 80,000 and 300,000, if we did not have our EP&O levy, we would not get those timber dollars. Those would go to the county and be distributed where they wanted. Same thing with the debt service fund in our timber excess private tax. We got almost 250,000, but look at what we got with our DNR. If we don't have a bond, we miss out on $717,000. So if you look at the grand total of what we're getting $1 million. This last year was a really good year, 1.1 million worth of timber dollars. That's really good.
So, okay.
Wow.
Should have had that off. Came on. It's working.
You get a blue slip.
Siri.
That's good information to say for when we're trying to put this
Right.
on the ballot and convince people.
Yeah. And again, and when we start looking at those local dollars there, with the exception of in the debt service fund, we have to pay off our debt every year, and it's a little over $1 million. But remember, we're now building up again to where we're getting over 2.2 million, going into 2.5 million. We can take that additional million and you can figure out how you want to spend it. That's how we're able to have
Fields.
wonderful facilities. And again, not overtaxing the taxpayer. But anyway, it was a really good year. It'll be curious to see how it is this year with that 6-month stall. I don't think we're going to see, remember the 6 months pause in timber sales and junior taxing that our new commissioner paused. I don't think we're going to see the ripple effect. I mean, the DNR is pretty confident that we're not going to see a huge decline this next year. I'm just curious to, I'll believe it when I see it.
Unless the market tanked or something like
Yeah,
that.
and
then, yeah.
there's, you can see the years where we only, instead of, like I said, 700,000 in the DNR lands, so that's a lot. There've been years when we had 232 in 2008, 2009, when the economy tanked. That was really low. I mean, that was really hard times. But for the most part, kudos to the DNR. I really think that they're being good stewards of what they can do, despite what legislation tells them to do.
Why is
Or
the
not do.
federal enforcement so high?
The federal forest,
That's
the,
amazing.
no, the federal forest is only at 19,000. It's
Oh,
the
it is.
lowest. Do you see that?
Okay, I didn't know.
That's just coming into the general fund. So if you look at that line,
Yeah.
that's pretty pathetic. Other than back in 16, 17, we had 7,246.
Yeah, I thought it was way more.
But if you look a
Yeah, that's
long
Forest
time
Service
ago,
ground. They're not doing anything.
we were in the
than
200
I
and
thought.
almost 250,000, you know, a good 20 years ago.
Yeah, that's.
There's just a huge shift.
Yeah, Forest
Oh,
Service
yeah.
does nothing.
Back in the 80s, yeah, it was all up on Forest Service
Mhm.
land. Yeah.
Anyway, I thought that was important for you to see.
Yeah, that's good information.
All right, thanks for that. Educational programs and operation levy rollback.
Okay, so I'll bring a handout for you the next time, but I want to talk about it. I mentioned it at the last meeting, but I want to talk about it now, and then I'll bring back a handout so you really understand it. So you're going to hear it once, hear it twice, and then the third meeting after this meeting, I want to bring a resolution. And so when we passed our EP&O levy in 2025, that's this year, we're finishing out, or we collected $720,000. We've done that for 25 plus years. We increased that to try to get to the $1.50 per thousand so we can capitalize on our local effort assistance. Remember, we're property poor. If we don't reach the $1.50 per thousand, we're currently at 82 cents per thousand worth of value property. We lose out on $3 or $4 million that we're being taxed for, and it stays at the state. So we passed our new EP&O levy, which starts in 2026 in January 1. And we said we're going to collect $1.5 million because we thought that would get us to $1.50 per thousand. Unfortunately, the timber assessed value is way down. So if we look at what $1.5 million, we didn't get our numbers right, and that's okay because it's a guessing game. So to get that, if we looked at the current tax rate at collecting $1.5 million, it would be $1.71 per thousand. We want to get it to $1.50. So we have the right to do what's called a rollback. And so we file a resolution with the county and say, we said we were going to collect, and our taxpayers said they would let us collect $1.5 million, but we don't want to collect $1.5 million because we told the taxpayers we were trying to get around $1.50 per thousand. By the way, if we wanted, everybody has a levy lid, we could levy 2.5 million. So we're not even near. Most other school districts max out their levy. They get as much as they can, if anybody ever asked you. So what I would propose is that we roll it back. We say we're going to roll back to $1.50 per thousand because that's what we said we would. We're not going to collect $1.5 million. Instead, we're going to collect $1.3 million. That gets that to $1.50 per thousand, and then it saves each household about $100,000. That would be my
Each
recommendation.
household?
Not each household.
I love it.
not $100,000. Did I say $100,000?
Yeah.
That would save each household about $100 of taxes. There we go. I said that wrong. What that means though is instead of collecting, we would collect, and then the other interesting thing about the EP&O levy, remember 2026 straddles 2 years. So we're collecting half in April and half in October or whenever.
Yeah.
So instead, we would lose $90,000 out of this year's budget and 90,000 out of next year's. We would lose a total of 180,000, which we can't afford. We can't afford. And then what we say to our taxpayers, we said we would get it at $1.50. So we're rolling back. We're not going to collect at 1.5 million. We're going to collect 1.3 million.
But we also told them we would maximize our
LEA,
LEA
and we are maximizing our LEA at
at
$1.50
$1.50.
50 per thousand. I'm
Okay.
going to put it in, figure out how to put it in simple language and give you a one sheeter,
Good luck
and then
with
we'll
that.
publicize it so
Yeah.
people understand it.
It'd be
I
good
need
to
simple
publicize
language.
it.
And then we'll also do and here's what we're getting with our local timber dollars. Here's what we got last year. Our communication specialists are helping with that one page. It'll be a nice, pretty page so you can see it, because it's hard to
Not too
explain.
much, not too much
Not too much.
information.
I'll run it by Justin first. And I'll go, no, that's too much.
Yeah.
But anyway, we have to do this, a resolution before November 30th and turn it into the county, and then they pull it back. Sound like a good,
This is going on what, February ballot?
no, you don't put it on the ballot. You just say, we're not going to collect as much as we said we're going to collect.
Oh.
Instead of, I'm going to increase a percentage and get more money, we're going to say, we're going to give you back money. We're not, you said we could collect this, but we're not going to collect that much
Do we
money.
have to vote on that or it just happens?
Resolution.
Oh,
And then it is year to year. If we
Oh, I
don't
see.
do a resolution for remember, this is a 4-year levy. So it's 2026, 2027, 2028, 2029. Each year, we're going to look and see where all of that, because the other thing that happened, I think, is the property rates dropped. I'll have to show you the chart.
Yeah, so
Some did, some didn't.
Fairfield
Yeah.
went down, yeah.
we just got it
I had a heart
today.
attack today when I opened my mail.
oh, really? Oh, I'm gonna go check my mail then.
Don't.
So explain to me again why it's $1.70, the tax rate. And I understand about we agreed to 150 and we're going back, but how did it get to be?
$1.5
But how did it get to be $1.70 per?
because, let me see because it takes less to hit the $1.5 million than we thought. Does that make sense?
No.
It takes more
Well, the timber assessed value says
down. And so it has to do with the way the timber assessed value isn't up here. So we have to tax. That's it. Our TAV went down, and I've asked the county why it went down, and I haven't gotten an answer yet. So the timber assessed value went way down. When the timber assessed value goes up, they collect less from,
But we,
Us with real
in order to
estate.
get us our $1.5 million,
but in order to
they
get,
have to charge
they have
the
to charge
taxpayers more
$1.74 per thousand.
to get
And
us
we were
that.
guessing that $1.50 per thousand based on the TAV from
Gotcha.
last year,
Thank you.
but it went down. And so now they're going to go, I need more from your house, I need more from your house, and I need more from your house.
So we want to honor.
We want to honor what we said.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I was just,
Mhm.
yeah, I forgot how to wrap my head around
So we're
that.
going to try to make that in really simple language with a little chart, you know?
You did good.
That was
I
pretty
have it.
simple.
Okay.
I kind of
You
understood
did a
it.
good job, yeah.
You heard it
Yeah.
once, you're going to hear it again. And then
Okay.
I'm going to show you something, and I'll show you again, and then we'll bring the resolution.
And then you're going to make us go to the various community groups and explain it to them.
No, we're actually getting
Yeah.
ready to do a handout to all the voters that will go in their mailboxes about the voting time and say, thank you for passing last year. We really appreciate you. As a gift to you, we're going to lower this because it can, and we'll explain it. It'll be a folded over, really professional one that will go to all the voters so they know that.
Cool.
That's good. That'll reach everybody then.
Yeah.
Great.
Okay.
Thank you for that,
In
Diana.
this day and age, that's kind of a rarity.
It is, it is.
Okay, PLC training solution tree. This is our next go round.
Yeah, we have our next go around. If you can be there Wednesday, October the 22nd from 2 to 4, we'll have food. She's usually done by 3:30. And then the next one is January 15th, and then the following one is March 12th. And then I also put the calendar in front of you. Nothing has changed. I just wanted to show you that in November, the first meeting is on Wednesday because the first Tuesday is Veterans Day. And so I thought you might be honoring or doing, we won't have school that day. And then in December, it's an unusual one. We have one and it's on the 16th, a Tuesday, just so you've got those in your mind. Hazel will remind you.
Okay. Hang on a second. Okay. Oh, Homeschool Plus School Improvement Plan.
If you remember last board meeting, when we were at Sarah's building, you made a motion to pass all of the school improvement plans. We forgot the homeschool plus school improvement plan. We need theirs as well. They will go into more detail about it when they have their spotlight on success.
Okay,
But it meets all the requirements of the state. The only problem with having 45 kids, it's really hard to look at the data per student group. It's a little harder, but they have some, Brenda has set up some really good goals of making sure that our students are focusing on their student written learning plan, that they're making progress, and that we have on-time graduation, and that our students are participating.
okay. All right. Is there a motion to approve the improvement plan, Homeschool Plus?
I'll make a motion, we approve the homeschool plus school improvement plan.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
All those in favor say aye.
All right.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed, say no. It's approved. Okay, next is Constitution of the Forks High School Class of 2027. I don't remember us ever doing this before, where we do all these approvals of constitutions.
And we should have been.
Okay, I
Um,
mean, in 30-some years, this is the first year I think I've done that.
We did quite a few last year and
Did
the year
we?
prior. Yeah.
Okay, well,
If we get an audit from the auditors where they audit ASB, that's one of the things they're going to look at.
what does it do for the auditors? I mean, why are they so head up over it?
Because there are procedures that we have to do for fundraising and for ASB funding, and part of it is that
To have an
you
organization?
know that you have elected officials, that they have meetings, that they vote on
Okay,
how they're going to spend the money, and so part of the backbone of that is a bona fide constitution.
gotcha. Thanks. Did we ever get found on that, finding on anything like that? Because,
And it varies what I don't know when they'll audit it again, but they could do it next year. Yeah.
sure, okay. All right, so if you've all had a chance to look at that constitution, if there's a motion to approve it, please make one.
I'll make a motion, we approve the Constitution for the Forks High School Class of 2027.
Second,
I'll second it.
thank you.
Far.
Any other questions? Comments? All right, all those in favor of approving the Constitution of Forks High School Class of 2027, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed, say no. Okay,
And by the way, they're learning about protocols for being a leader on boards outside of school, and we want them to do that, going through the process of having formalized documents.
oh. And do they use Robert's Rules of
They do.
Order
I believe
amended
so.
for the Quileute Valley School Board? All right. Good. Well, that's the last item on the book tonight is the surplus items, a bunch of math books, guides and manuals. It looked like hundreds of them.
Who buys this stuff?
I don't, what do you do with them?
Recycle it.
These are old Bridges documents
Yeah.
from Sarah's building.
Yeah, we got a new updated edition of our Bridges curriculum. And I'm really trying to keep our building from collecting old curriculum. I really want to be diligent about moving it out. So I'm hopeful that somebody can use it. And if not, they can go away from my building.
I don't know
Send
what
it
we
to
do
a
with it.
shredder.
Yeah.
Ship them to
Yeah.
a third world country or something. I don't know. Somebody could use them.
Okay,
They don't
Well-
know English.
this seems rather straightforward. So is there a motion to surplus those math books? And you can bid on them yourself if you really want them.
Whoa.
Is there a motion?
I'll make a motion to surplus the items listed.
I'll second it.
All right, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed, say no. All right, we are adjourned.
Awesome.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank
It's
you
always
for
good
being
to see
here.
your smiling faces and
Okay, thank you. I do need to I forgot to mention earlier that Sheila has a conflicting meeting on Tuesday evenings now, so she's hoping to be able to be here soon at one of our future meetings, but